What you looking at?
At aircraft, what else? You can't turn off the pilot brain.
You're always judging your next flight.
It's quite stable, air mass, visibility. I mean, amazing view.
Wow, I just got the pilot rundown right there. You ready to go?
Let's take off.
Welcome to Above the Noise, Commercial Aviation Edition, the Viasat original podcast where we talk to people who live between cities and have these moments of clarity and connection that rise above the distractions at 35,000 feet. Our guest today is a professional who sits at the controls and yet provides a perspective that really applies to anybody who's ever stared out of a cabin seat. He is a professional pilot with over a decade of experience, an instructor, as well as a creator, sharing the beauty and reality of a life above the clouds. Patrick Biedenkapp, welcome to Above the Noise.
Thank you so much, Samantha. It's exciting to be here in New York City, and it feels like we are flying above the city. We're so high.
I'm so glad you saw that too, because I felt, wow, I've lived in New York City for close to 40 years, and I have never seen a view like this. But for you, this is kind of commonplace. I mean, we're a little lower than you would be
That's
over
true.
a city, but this is kind of what you get to see in this world.
Yeah, to see the world from above is beautiful. And when I look outside, I would like to take a small plane and fly around New York City.
Are you one of those kids who would look up at the sky and just say, that's where I want to be? I don't want to be on the ground. I want to be up there.
As a small kid, I was always fascinated by airplanes and aviation. I went with my grandpa to see air shows.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, I was like, I couldn't picture myself being a pilot one day. I'm a very creative person, so that's why I also started, I think, my social media. And I had also the idea of becoming an industrial designer or architect. But then when I finished school, and my dad was like, he always wanted to become a pilot, but he never had the chance. And here I am.
So your father saw that in you, something that you really didn't see for yourself, but you thought, oh, I'm going to give it a try?
There was always this fascination, and I think he kind of implemented his dream inside me. And when I finished school, I didn't want to do this 9-to-5 job. I wanted to have this kind of freedom and start a job as soon as possible. What do I like to do? And I was like, I like to travel. I like planes. And then it was like quite obvious for me to be a pilot.
Well, I mean, it's not that obvious because that's a huge life change, understanding that that could be your career.
It's true.
There's a whole culture behind it. So when you were telling people, this is what I want to do, like your friends, did that feel like it was more from a sense of confidence that, Patrick, yes, this is what I want to do? Or was it this like leap of faith?
I was 20 when I decided to do the flight training. And I told my friends, of course, and they were like, oh, you're crazy. And yes, I'm a bit crazy, but I think they could not really see me becoming a captain one day. When I started flying, I was also a bit, I wouldn't say insecure, but I had this little bit of fear that I might not like it.
Yeah, of course.
From the first day onwards, flying in Croatia, that's where I did my flight training, and I lifted off for the first time myself.
Oh, what does that feel like? Because that
I got goosebumps now.
Did you?
Yeah.
You still feel that moment. You're still there
moment.
emotionally.
Yeah.
With the liftoff, that is totally manual, right? I mean, you are feeling when the plane is just, and then you are pulling up.
The aircraft just wants to fly because it generates this lift, and it is magical. Like we talked about the 747 or the A380 lifting off the ground with ease. And you're like, how is this possible that it disconnects from the world? And even though this aircraft weighs 300 tons.
I still believe that just, I'm in that plane, I am totally safe, and that's all I need to know.
But sometimes it also helps to understand the whole system, how everything works. Because there are lots of people have this anxiety of flying or fear of flying.
There is such a total trust given to pilots and captains. Hear the voice of God, of course, of the captain come over, telling you about the flight. And, we're going to expect a little bit of turbulence, but we should be. It's all this like copacetic, like we're okay. Do you feel that weight of responsibility as a pilot, as a captain?
There is a lot of responsibility. And you as a captain or as an entire flight crew, you are in charge of the aircraft, multi-million-dollar aircraft, passengers, cargo, everyone on board. But it is a very nice feeling, I must say. Yeah. It's also like connected a bit to joy. And I have lots of people are telling me, wow, you're captain. Aren't you afraid of it? Because you have so much responsibility. I'm like, I think I would do something wrong if I'm afraid of flying.
And you do sit on the left side of the cockpit now. You are a captain.
Yeah.
What was that feeling when you were made a captain, when all of a sudden that did become your responsibility?
It's a major upgrade moving from the right seat as a first officer to the left seat, being a captain. But you can become a captain once you're kind of ready for it. And you have to decide it for yourself as well. You need this experience, you need the flight hours. You build your confidence over the years. Like when I started flying, I would say, rather insecure. And I was like, oh, one day I will be a captain, but this feels kind of like far away. But at some point, moving to this other seat to have the responsibility. And it's definitely a different level. Now operating a private jet. And I was flying over the Alps. I've flown over the Alps so many times, but this was like a moment where I'm like, wow, this is a pinch me moment. I was getting like a little bit emotional. I was saying, wow, this is my job, flying super blue skies. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, it's a surreal feeling. Sometimes you land somewhere, maybe it's a difficult or challenging airport, and you like mastered the flight, everything went as you planned, and everyone is happy, operation, passenger happy, and then you're like standing outside, and then it's like this moment where you can like relax.
So you do, as a captain, allow yourself to have those moments where your professionalism, which is obviously there, also gets to mingle with your emotional human side, right?
Of course, there are moments. I'm a human. We're not flying gods.
You're not stoic. It's like you see an Alp, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, that's incredible. So you still see the world as a beautiful place.
I do, and I love to be up in the air. I mean, from above, the world seems so small and so peaceful, and I'm really enjoying those moments to see it from a different perspective.
With being the captain of a private jet, describe like a day in the life of you. Give us a taste as someone who sits in seat 32B. Just tell me, just give me a little taste of what private jet world is like.
Private jets, you always connect this luxury lifestyle. You drink champagne all the time on board, But like the real luxury for the clients or passengers I am flying is that the private jet is almost like a time machine. Everything is so quick, they arrive and 1 minute later they are on board, especially connecting destinations where no airline maybe flies to. Recently I flew to an airport in Sion, right in the valley in Switzerland, and no airliner can fly there because you have really high mountains and it's a very steep approach, so only smaller aircraft can fly there. The cabin is for yourself, you get VIP catering, and what I always enjoy, I sometimes fly also as a passenger when I need to do maybe a proceeding to a different airport, so I get to experience it as a passenger. And on my aircraft, you sit on the like master club seat, leather seat, of course, quite comfortable, but you have the view to the cockpit, so you actually see the cockpit and you can see straight ahead. Quite nice feature, I would say, you have on this private jet.
Okay. And so then, as the captain of a private jet, you're also then a part of the mix. The passengers can see you, but then you can kind of see and get their energy as well.
You're kind of connected to your passenger, and you want to make like the best flight experience possible. Sometimes they have like a last minute change up in the air. different
No.
airport.
No, like, okay, we're not
it
going to
has
go to
happened.
Switzerland. Let's go to Malta.
Maybe it's because of a contract or maybe a deal he just signed, or maybe they just canceled an appointment. But it only happens with
Yeah.
real-time connectivity.
How has in-flight connectivity affected you, and how you manage that in-between time between like being home and then being in the air? How has that helped your life?
I would almost call it like a game changer, especially when you're on the road all the time. You want to be connected with your loved ones, or with your family. I just became an uncle,
Yes.
and I got the message during the flight.
Oh, wonderful.
So that's like in real
No
time.
champagne for you, though.
No champagne for me. But yeah, this is beautiful.
Yeah, and you feel
it
that
can
from
be-
your passengers, because like you said, as the captain, you are in charge of the passengers and even their happiness, and that absolutely adds to someone's, I always think of, in-flight connectivity as just emotional continuity, right? Because for me, I'd been traveling for a very long time before all of a sudden this became the next magic of being in the air, is just being able to continue with my life, where before I just felt like I dropped off the face of the earth.
Or you have
And
to pause a moment.
the
or
pause, and sometimes that's a really nice feeling, right? Like you said, when you're above the noise and you can just focus on what you need to. But when you're on those longer flights and those long hauls and those red eyes, there is this feeling of detachment that in this day and age, we don't want to feel anymore. And it just creates more anxiety. You know?
I started flying when we have everything on paper, like charts or flight log. Everything was on paper. Now it's all digital with the iPads, and now with the connectivity, operations can always like call you and message you and say, "Hey, we got a change in plans. We need you now at a different airport. Let's divert."
There was a moment before there was in-flight connectivity where if I was on a long haul flight and then, the wheels touch ground and now we're able to fire up our phone, there was this big breath I would take because here it comes. The 40 emails and the thing I missed. And when you get the emails and the texts, it's the latest news and you have to go all the way back to figure out what happened, what went wrong. And you just knew it was going to hit. And now, because of the connectivity on the airplane, I can be there right when things happen, right? So before things go south, and not just me on a plane, like I can either say, "Oh no, I did not say that," to like people I'm working with. This is what's happening. We're fine.
For me, like most of the time, I am not at home. You don't want to miss out on like moments. And actually, on the flight here, it's 8.5 hours flight from Berlin. For the first few hours, I was like, I enjoyed. I didn't touch the Wi-Fi, but then I was like, "What's happening right now?" And that I'm flying. I'm just sharing the moment, which is a beautiful thing to do as well.
Now that I have a captain right next to me, I'm going to use this to my advantage and ask you a few questions.
Captain Samantha.
No. So I'm in, row 25, seat B. And for me,
Middle seat?
Yes. With my kids, I still get the middle seat. Can you believe that? When I travel with my kids.
Sit at the window, right?
My kids used to cry, and I'm like, "You're crying." I used to sit in first class. I'm like, "Oh, why are you crying? I should be crying." Anyway, all right. So for me as a passenger, a smooth ride means A-okay, but the bumps are bad. What do you wish passengers knew was happening in the cockpit that would maybe make us feel a little better about the bumps? Because the bumps can be big.
They can be big. It can be quite intimidating. But maybe it feels more dangerous than it is.
Okay.
Because aircraft are built to fly. So they can withstand crazy strong winds. I don't know if you have seen a video of an aircraft bending its wings and testing. It's insane.
Okay.
They
And
don't-
so
they
they
don't
can do
break.
that. Okay.
They do it. So I always tell passengers, you need to relax. But on the other side, for me, it is more interesting and maybe, let's say, a little bit more fun if it is bumpy and we have crosswinds.
Oh, is
because
that
then
right?
it's challenging. Also, if it's challenging, you are more focused, you're more connected with the aircraft, with your crew, with everything around you. When it's like an easy flight, let's say, and everything runs smoothly and weather's fine and, you know, it's just going. It can happen that you might get too complacent, that you are not so, you know, behind it, and that you are not so alerted. And I think this is very important, that you stay as a pilot the whole time alerted, because it always could happen something, and then you need to be prepared. So just remember, like, that a bump or those crosswinds, yeah, it might feel awkward to a passenger, but we pilots know what to do.
You are a pilot, you are an instructor, but you are also a content creator. You really share your world online, social media. I follow you. It's wonderful. And I follow quite a few pilots, and you're different in that you really share with us the magic of flying as well as the magic of your everyday life. How has being on social media really helped inform your professional world, expand it, really?
When I started flying, when I was super young, at 22, you know, no one else had an insight into my world of flying. You know, at that time, we didn't have smartphones yet. I always had the urge to, like, show my friends and family what I'm doing, because they couldn't believe that I'm flying a plane, you know. So that's how I actually, by accident, I came to social media.
Yeah.
And since I'm also a quite creative person, this is like a nice side of myself I can use my creativity for. Because as a pilot, you can't really fly creative. Maybe aerobatic, maybe you can fly looping, that's kind of creative maybe, but commercial pilot, you have procedures, you have standard operating procedures and rules and checklists, so you can't be so creative. Yeah, so that's why I ended up with social media, because I wanted to share it with my friends and family, and then all of a sudden it kind of exploded overnight.
Yeah,
I must say.
Were you surprised by the response?
Of course I was. And this
Yeah?
was like a bit scary, actually. Like, all of a sudden have so many people following you and strangers. But it's also very beautiful, because I can really take people, my audience, on a flight. So, and I think it's also a beautiful way to show, not only give them insights into the aviation world, maybe also explain how things work. And I've heard so many stories that people were inspired by me to start flight training, and this is very beautiful.
Patrick, if you could go back to that 19-year-old, 18-year-old who thought, maybe I'll be an engineer. I know I don't want a 9-to-5 job. My dad tells me I should do this. Let me try it. And now you're a pilot. What would you say to that young kid now?
First of all, trust yourself, trust your gut, dream big, and have goals in your life, because otherwise you might lose yourself.
This is something that you really reinforce in your social media, and I think that's why you have such a large following, because people really look to you for that type of advice almost every day. And one particular post really resonated with me. It was on Aviation Day, and you said, we celebrate, and I'm probably going to be paraphrasing here, we celebrate an industry that has shrunk the world, has connected cultures, and quietly turned dreams into destinations. And I just thought, that is so succinct and yet so enlightening, so beautifully stated. And that is what aviation is. And we forget that because we take it for granted.
We take it for granted.
Right?
And that's why when I fly, even as passenger, I like to dress up, because I'm celebrating that we are flying. And we can be so lucky to live in a world where we are connected. So not only via phone or internet, but we're also connected by planes. Destinations get so close. So yeah, this is beautiful that we have the opportunity to live that.
Everyone on a plane, I always say, it's about high stakes. You are either traveling for family, you're traveling for love, you're traveling for your future, right? But before, you just kind of went into this in-between place. And that's why Viasat is really changing that game of continuing that emotional through line in our lives up in the air, no matter where we go. It's really, really wonderful. Patrick, it has been lovely talking to you. Thank you for coming on Above the Noise.
Thank you so much.
And safe
having me.
flying.
Happy landings, we always say.
And for those of you listening, just remember the next time you're on a bumpy flight, there's probably a pilot up in the front really enjoying it. So stay calm, stay connected, and enjoy life above the noise.